Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. And here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Say that 2 times fast. Um, and I'm getting I'm leaned in, I'm getting close to the camera, I'm doing all this. I got this bright sunlight in the back of me. You can see through my hair. It's angelic. No, I'm being silly, but I'm purposely being silly. I sort of want to talk about this concept of being afraid of the very thing that you practice, being afraid of witchcraft. There are people walking around here practicing magic who are terrified of actual magic. They're terrified of signs, symbols, voices, movement in the house, things that go bump in the night. They're terrified of all those things, and they are actually calling themselves witches. These are going to be people, maybe, they're not necessarily bragging or anything about this sort of stuff, but they exist. Trust me, they're out there and they've been practicing for some time. So I want to talk to the people who don't want to be afraid. You don't want to fear this stuff. You don't want to fear, you know, the occult. We'll just say that you don't want to fear it. So this is just a quick video to kind of talk about that a little bit more and how I eventually got to the point where I personally was finally able to jump over the hurdle and not be afraid of magic and the occult and metaphysical and all that sort of stuff, the esoteric and all that. So let's just have a conversation. It's just me and you. I'm about to give you a little bit of information. So basically, just stop. That's first one. Just stop. How do I just stop? Well, you need to make a conscious effort of rejecting the things that no longer serve you, because those are the things that are causing you to be fearful of your magic. And what does that mean? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be your upbringing. It's going to be how you were indoctrinated at a young age to believe certain things, certain faith system, religions, and so forth. You can't walk this line between wanting to still preserve that out of respect for, your family, the elders in your family, your mom, your grandmom, grandfather, so forth. You're going to have to release that. This is your journey, your spiritual journey. You can respect them and what they were trying to do to help you, but that's not where you are anymore. That's not your life. And you're going to need to remove yourself from that frequency, like just separate it. You're going to have to, and that will take work, because believe it or not, it's permeated probably all up and through your life and you don't even realize it. It's influencing the way you think, the way you see, the way you feel. So you're going to have to learn to undo that. It's going to take time. How you know you're making progress? When you don't cringe, you don't have a visceral reaction to hearing a strange noise that is not like physically harming, potentially harming, but it's something spiritual. When you see activity out the corner of your eye, when you wake up from a dream with a relative that's passed on, and you don't get the chills in a profound way, you get the chills in a fearful way. When you see something that to anybody else might say is a coincidence and it doesn't elicit this weird reaction from you where you feel almost afraid, like, oh my God, is that what it is? Oh my God. Stop evoking the Christian God, even in jest. It's just ways of just, it's a very precise way of just bit by bit taking all of that off of you, because it's like integrating the fiber of who you are, most likely because you've probably been learning or have been taught these principles and this ideology for as long as you could remember. So it would take a lot of work to do it. That's going to be the basis of most 9 out of 10. That's the basis of where the fear is coming from and why you're so afraid of the occult, why you believe the propaganda that is showed in horror movies, even in modern times. Whenever the concept of witches come up, is always in line and in league with the devil. Whenever there's the topic of anything that has to do with spirits and ghosts or things like that, it's always bad ones. They're always up. They're evil. That's how it's shown in media. And which by the way, they buy into the whole Abrahamic theories as well, and ideology. Most writers and producers, they usually are in league with that, even if slightly, like they're not against it. So yeah, they're probably, their art, their film, their work is going to reflect that. So learning to distinguish, that's all it is. The stronghold that media has on people, especially my people, really upsets me. People, like intelligent people, will watch a television show or a movie and it has something to do with the occult, and they are like, see, that's a sign. And I'm like, as someone who writes fiction, who, again, I've spoken about this before, who've created a world with magical people, with magical talents and beings, and all this other knowledge that I have about the esoteric and witchcraft and so forth, and I bring elements of that into my story. I can tell you that I the things that I'm writing about are from my imagination. It is from, I don't know, a culmination of all the things I've probably been exposed to and read over time. But I'm the goddess of that world, and I know what's going on, and these characters, I'm breathing life into them, and they're doing things unexpected. They're moving in different ways, they're growing. With all that being said, I still control the universe. I still control all of it in this, fictional world that I've created. I control all of that. So if I'm telling you this, people who write the screenplays for the movies that you're watching, or people's, because it could be a group, they're controlling it, dear. I know you want to believe that, like, unless you heard from the people who wrote it specifically that that was the intention, that it really means this, and you should look at it that way. Unless you have like an interview that you saw the writers participate in, or something else that they wrote that explains that, I would not make that assumption. Don't read too much more into that movie, whatever it is, trying to believe it's this, it's that. It was a project that was put together. It started with someone up here for someone, and it came through. Not diminishing spiritual influence, divine influence, or anything like that. I'm not diminishing that they didn't, that maybe this person was getting this from another source. But then there's the directors, and then there's the actors, and then there's the producers. Like, think rationally about some of this. And this is coming from a real witch, someone who calls themselves a witch. Think rationally. Really take everything apart. Deconstruct the process of filmmaking from just the rudimentary ways that we know it as just, regular, the public, right? As the consumers of the media, of the art. Stop and really just think. It would save you a lot of unnecessary time and the burden of fear and all this other stuff because people are really like looking at media that way and consuming it as if it's real. And again, because I do write stories, some that maybe no one will ever see and some that you'll be seeing soon, hopefully. You everything is not what you think it is. Okay, sometimes it was just it's just the story. I swear, it's just the story. It's too Now the story, it takes on its own life when you consume it and you interpret it a totally different way than I intended as the author. Okay, and we like that. Artists, they like that. They like if you're looking at their painting and their drawings, and it elicits something that we never imagine from you. Like, that's awesome. As someone, as an artist, as an author, as a filmmaker, as a screenplay writer, whatever it is, that's a great thing. But don't get so carried away where you completely lose yourself in this media, in this form of entertainment. And it's digging, it's now seeping into that fear, that foundation of fear that you have in yourself. And it comes out in ways where, if the candle burns a certain way, your spell candle, it freaks you out. If I've had a candle glass from one of those 7-day candles explode overnight. I left it burning overnight and it exploded. And there are some people would say that's a sign. Some things are really just, okay, you have to think about how science works. What was the surface it was sitting on? The glass, was there already a crack in it? There's other things at play. And, in order to distinguish all this, you have to learn to trust your intuition because it won't steer you wrong. But if you're clouded with fear, if you're clouded with of anything that's woo woo and it's scary to you because of the horror movies and, like I said, the propaganda that's just perpetuated through media when it comes to anything with the occult. And I'm just saying the occult because I'm just putting under a big umbrella, witchcraft, all of that. It just reinforces that fear. So, okay, now that I've gone into that whole tangent, again, how to get rid of it, stop doing it. Stop consuming things that are just feeding the fear. Stop participating in spaces that are not helpful to you spiritually. Meaning don't go to an actual church if you don't want to be at that church because you feel this desire to continue to keep it going for family and, to keep a certain standing in your community. Stop. We only have this one life in these physical forms that we're ultimately aware of, right? Don't waste time doing things you don't want to do, especially spiritual, because it's such a significance, but don't waste your life doing this out of obligation, or more importantly, because I see a lot of people, they're called to witchcraft, but they're constantly still trying to find a way to work in whatever it is, religious path that they were born into, basically, because that's what the family did or their mother did or father or what have you. Stop trying to find a way to merge these worlds, especially if you can't seem to release this fear, when it comes to the magical side, the witchcraft side. You're going to need to release that. You're going to need to let it go. It doesn't even, honestly, as someone who's been practicing for well over a decade now, it doesn't really, it's not necessary. I promise you it's not necessary. You don't need the book of Psalms. You don't need it. No, you don't. No, you don't. I promise you, you don't need it. I know you said here, well, it might not work for you, but you don't need it. Notice I said need. You have other ways of going about practicing. Do you think that your ancestors, and I'm not talking about one specific culture, y'all, they didn't have no Bible. They didn't have that Bible. No, they didn't. Some of them couldn't even read. Let's just talk about the history of humanity. They couldn't even read. Why would they have the Bible? Ma'am, sir, stop. You're creating excuses, especially if you are still struggling with being afraid of freaking magic, of the spell actually working. There are people who do spells and they're afraid it works because it freaks them out. It's like, I mean, I'm not scared. I'm just a little freaked out. Why are you freaked out? Being in awe, being surprised still, wow, this really came together like that. That's a different experience than being freaked out. Ooh, I'm scared. Boo, stop being scared. My tolerance is short for people who do that. I have well, my tolerance is short for a lot of things at this point in my life, but it really is, because you are wasting time. You are wasting your magic. You're wasting your life just reveling in being afraid, because you didn't grow up seeing this sort of stuff. The people around you don't, validate these types of experiences. So you're just scared. Release it. Release the people around you. You don't mean, you can still be around your mom. You can still be around your grandma. Not what I'm asking you to like cut folks off. I mean, if it makes sense, cut them off. But I'm not even suggesting that. But what it means is, spiritually speaking, release that. You might need to do an actual ritual where you're doing a full releasing. Write all this stuff down, all the stuff that you're afraid of, why you're afraid of it, and all that. Bring all those emotions, that feelings to the surface. You might need to cry that out. Burn that petition, write it down on a piece of parchment paper and burn it. When you're burning it, light a black candle and make sure you speak words, they don't have to rhyme, over that black candle. Something along the lines of, as this candle burns, so does my fear. I release all that fear. I release all the doubts and the worry and, all things that no longer serve me on this path in witchcraft, that I'm taking, I'm emerging on, that I'm walking. I release all of it and feel it, like deep breathing exercises while you're doing. I like to call it breath work, where you're like sucking in and you're like making a big release of air as you do it. Blow that air onto that paper before you burn it. These things matter, if you're crying, if you hate that you still can't seem to just like let it go, cry it out. If you're a crier, cry on that paper, or wipe it, and while the tears are fresh on your hands, put it on there. And then after that, definitely take a shower. I would say a bath, but I want you to sit in it. Shower is significance of a shower is like it's just washing away. That water is cleansing. You are cleansing yourself with this water element. I'm not going to use words like baptized because that's going to take you back, but you're cleansing yourself with that water, and you're new. And from that point forward, whenever you have that urge or that feeling, that where you, the cringe or the freak out, whatever that feeling, that anxiety when you're doing spell work, it's there, you're aware of it, you feel it, let it go, carry on. You might want to have a mantra or something you speak to yourself, so that you're not in that space, something to snap you out of it. There's a trick that people do with a rubber band, like if you have certain thoughts, you pop yourself with a rubber band because the pain kind of takes your mind off. Well, I mean, if you need to do that, but I would go with, some sort of other physical action. Maybe it's a snap of the finger, maybe it's a clap, it just snaps you out of it. Maybe do something like that, it's a physical action that takes those thoughts away. I do that sort of thing, by the way. When I start thinking certain types of negative thoughts of doubt and worry, I'll or clap, or I might even like a little pinch. I mean, I'm not trying to really hurt myself, but a little pinch to kind of snap myself out of it. And a sensitive area like your arm or right here, just grab a grip or something like that, and it makes you stop because now you're focused on this other thing. You might need to do something like that. And do weekly rituals or nightly rituals if you need to, depending on how bad this is for you, this fear that's holding on to you, that's influencing how you're looking at witchcraft, how you're looking at magic. Like, come on, we don't have as long as we think we do. Live. I can't tell you enough. Live your life, guys. Live. And it's not a good idea to live in fear. Like, learn how to release it. It's not easy for all of us. It was not easy for me. It took me a long time to wrestle with it. And that's why I don't want nothing to do with anything in my spiritual practice that would ever set me back to where, I started. And listen, good for you that you feel that you could work your magic and do all this stuff with Abrahamic faiths. Me personally, I don't see how, but I don't need to see because you're doing it, not me. But if you are struggling with being afraid when you get to the witchcraft side of things, you don't need to release that. You keep telling yourself I'm repeating it, but because there are people who are really thinking, well, I'll just do that. No, don't do that. Stop. Do you really believe in this stuff? Do you really believe that these candle spells that you're doing are working? Do you really believe that you can connect with your ancestors? Do you really believe that you could talk to spirit? Do you really believe that this goddess energy can be invoked and you can really bring that into your being and make stuff happen? Do you really believe that? If you really, really want to believe that, then there's no place for fear in that process. There's no place at all. So you're going to have to move on from that. You're going to have to release it. And that's the video. And I got all up in your face. I got a little aggressive at some point. That jersey came out. Because some of us need this type of talking to, we're creating, man, fear. You got to be careful because that fear will create like these layers within your psyche that will want to protect itself, to protect that energy, that fearful energy, so that you don't get rid of it and you don't try to reduce it. It wants to thrive, and if you let it thrive, it will influence decisions. And some people don't even live like their lives. They're afraid to do really anything, to experience anything, and that's no way to live, right? All right, so that's it. So thanks again for watching. Leave in the comments and let me know your thoughts on this. Have you conquered your fear? Did you have the fear of Abrahamic religion and all that comes with that? I mean, they teach fear in religion. I'm not just being ridiculous here. I mean, people say I want a God-fearing man or a God-fearing woman. I don't like that. But anyway, let me know in the comments. Again, I'm Mika. Leap taken. Like, subscribe, share. I'd appreciate it. And as always, thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.